Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio with another one in my series of headline episodes, putting in perspective what's going on behind the news with so many of the fast-paced trends that you are seeing today. And what I want to talk about today are two of my biggest issues when it comes to corporate organizations: the arrogance that can creep in when it comes to their approach to the future, and the hubris, the CEO hubris, that really causes them to miss out on the opportunities of what comes next. And this was really put in perspective over the last several weeks with what is occurring with the electrification of vehicles and the acceleration of the automotive and transportation industry. You have certainly seen that suddenly every single company has announced that they're going to be rushing to electrify. They're going to be rushing to convert their fleet. They're going to be rushing to get in the game. Well, the thing is, they've known this has been coming for many, many years. And it's not like they suddenly had to rush to do this, because we knew the trends. The trends were clear that we were going to see this massive change unfolding. Look, I've been on stage for Fortune 2000 organizations around the world for almost 28 years. A lot of CEO level events to put in perspective the trends that are going to shape our future. It's not like we don't know what is coming. And a lot of these events, I've put in stark perspective the reality of what is occurring from a big disruption perspective, and that is what is going on with the electrification of vehicles. It is a massive change in which we are going to actually see some companies not survive the massive scope of what is occurring. And look, I've seen some fascinating situations at the CEO level over the years. Look, a number of years ago, I was about to go on stage for a large corporate organization to talk about the reality of this industry and what could happen with the disruptive trends that were underway. And I remember having breakfast with the leadership team and the CEO, and he observed, it's not going to happen. We're going to be okay. We are not going to be impacted by some of the challenges that you're talking about. This made for a really interesting keynote because I then had to go out on stage in front of his leadership team at the request of one of the senior VPs to put in perspective the stark reality of the disruptive trends that they're faced with. I'm now watching this organization, and they are being impacted by dramatic change. They can barely keep up, and I suspect that they are going to have a very rocky ride in the months and years to come. Well, what happens in these situations? I've met a lot of CEOs, I've met a lot of senior executives who fall into the traps of arrogance and hubris. They don't know what's next, or they don't want to know what's next. They prefer to think that the world is going to stay the same, their industry is going to stay the same, nothing is going to change. They refuse to accept what's next. Maybe they were aware of the trends, but they refuse to accept the reality of what it's going to mean, because in their mind, everything's always going to stay the same. They don't believe the imminence of what's next. They think it's going to be some time away in the future. They don't think it's going to impact them. They think that they're going to be safe. They can ride it out. That leads to an attitude that they're not in any real hurry to deal with the reality of what comes next. And the result of that is they don't put in place any sort of strategy. What really happens is that their arrogance, the hubris that they have in their mindset, blinds them to what is going to come next. And this causes a number of missteps, a number of failures, a failure to take the action that they need to pursue to align to disruptive realities. What really is going on is they're in a state of denial as to the scope of what is next. That's what we're witnessing with a lot of companies today. They think the disruptive trends which are underway are small, that in 10 years the world is simply going to be very much like it is today. We know that is not the case. What happens is that they are totally wrong about the speed of the disruptive change that is underway. My tagline has always been, the future belongs to those who are fast, and if you aren't aligning yourself to speed, you simply won't keep up with the game. They believe that their current reality provides them with an absolute invincibility. It's the invincibility factor. Well, we know where this ends up. Last but not least, and I don't want to make this an age thing, but to a degree, it's an age thing. Their age does not give them a really good filter to understand what's next. And that is because what is truly occurring here is technology is coming to drive the speed of change in every single industry. What's the result of this arrogance and hubris? Well, we know where this ends up. We've seen this movie before. We've seen the absolute disappearance of organizations who have refused to accept the reality of the disruptive trends which are shaping their future. This is only becoming more challenging as a result of the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I was with global organizations talking about the reality that we are seeing an acceleration gap, and that is the gap between the speed of the disruptive change occurring and the ability of organizations to deal with that change. Well, what COVID-19 and the global pandemic has done is it has accelerated the pace of acceleration. The acceleration gap is growing bigger than ever before. So if organizations need to do anything, they need to get rid of the arrogance and the hubris, the attitude that they are invincible going forward into this fast-paced future. Here's a fun fact. I'm finding an increasing number of organizations are deciding to bring me in early January 2022 for an overview of what comes next and what they need to do about it to shake them out of their complacency. And I'm doing this from my virtual broadcast studio because we know we're in a complex world for quite some time to come. What I've put in place here is a sophisticated set of tools that can provide you the leadership insight to take your organization going forward into the future. Think about what comes next, avoid arrogance, avoid hubris, realize the reality of disruptive change, and prepare yourself for it because the future belongs to those who are fast. Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio.